All right, welcome to our first lesson in our integers unit. So this one, you're going to take notes on your own sheet of paper. Put the heading up at the top, integer intro notes, and then today's date. And then you're going to draw the table that's down below. So you're going to have a 3-column table, 1 column for negative, 1 column for neutral, and 1 column for positive. So today's going to focus on vocabulary terms that help us identify whether something is a positive number or a negative number. Okay, a good part of our integers unit is going to be that idea of positive and negative numbers. All right, so here's your table for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the words from the bottom and I'm going to put them into the appropriate column. Are they talking about a negative number? Are they talking about a positive number? Or are they talking about a neutral number? Okay. And then I'm also going to fill in some of the other versions of it. So maybe one of the terms might be negative, so I'm going to show you what a positive version of that number might look like. So for instance, below 0 is a negative number, okay? The neutral version, or think of like it's not positive or negative, it's kind of in the middle. A good way to think of it is it's neutral is kind of 0. So that would be my neutral term is 0. The positive would be above 0, okay? So below 0 means a negative number, above 0 means a positive number. Similarly, above sea level is a positive number. It means your elevation is above sea level. Neutral would be right at sea level. And negative would be below sea level. Your elevation is below the level of the ocean or the water. Okay. Next, we have withdrawal, and this one's a tricky one. Withdrawal is going to be a negative number. It means you're taking money out of your account. Okay. In this case, there's not really a neutral version of this one, but the opposite, a positive, is going to be deposit. So putting money into an account, that means I'm depositing that money into the account. Okay. Withdraw is taking money out. Deposit is putting money in. Next is credit. Credit is a positive. So think of it as I get a credit into my account. Maybe somebody credits me $10 into my Fortnite account. So I got $10 in V-Bucks that I can spend. A credit is added to your account. The opposite is a debit. A debit is a negative. You're subtracting money out of that account. Mom or dad might have a debit card where when they use it, it subtracts that money right out of their checking account right away. Next, we have par. Par is actually a golfing term, and par means you had a score of 0 for that particular hole. Okay? The positive version is going to be above par, meaning you have a positive score. Maybe you have a +2 for that hole. And then a negative is going to be below par. Golf is one of those sports where you actually want a negative number. You want a score that is below par. Then we have gain. Gain is going to be a positive term. And I'm going to actually add the word profit along with it. A lot of times in a business, somebody might show a gain or they might show a profit. Neutral would be breaking even. And the negative would be a loss, or maybe you lose money. Okay, that's going to signify a negative number. Then we have increase. That one's pretty straightforward. An increase is a positive, a decrease is a negative number. And then the last one, and this one was tricky today, AD. So we're talking about dates and kind of times in history. AD is actually a positive number. Okay. Back in, historians kind of reset the years when they were keeping track of history. They would kind of reset it at 0 about 2,000 years ago. And ever since then, we've just been counting up from there. So right now we're in 2021 AD. The negative version, meaning going back before where they set it back to 0, is going to be BC, or sometimes it's BCE. But that is back into ancient times, and they kind of count in reverse. Okay. So those are our vocabulary terms that we need for our integers unit. So make sure you have all those written down. And now we're going to practice them with some word problems. So here, this one says write an integer for each situation. So what that means is you're going to write a positive or a negative number depending on the vocabulary in the problem. So this one says 15 degrees below 0. Well, since it's below 0, it's going to be a negative. So it's going to be a negative 15. A profit of $27. Remember, we put profit in the positive category. So this is going to be a positive 27. Or if you just write 27, that's the same thing as the positive version. Okay? Just a plain number, we know that means it's a positive number. 2010 AD. Remember, AD is the positive time. So this is going to be a positive 2010. A withdrawal of $200, meaning money is taken out of the account. So that's going to be a negative 200. And then 60 feet below sea level. Remember, when it's a below, it's going to be a negative. So this is going to be a negative 60 feet. So we can use those vocabulary to help us know if we're dealing with a positive number or a negative number. All right. And then the last part of our lesson was comparing integers together, deciding which one is greater and which one is less. The key here is where those numbers fall in relationship to each other. So as you move to the right on your number line, the numbers get bigger. As you go to the left, farther into the negatives, they get less. Okay? So it's all about where they fall on the number line. So here, 7 and negative 3. 7 and negative 3. 7 is farther to the right on the number line, so 7 is greater than negative 3. The farther to the right it is, the farther into the positive it is, the bigger the number is. A good rule of thumb is a positive number is always greater than a negative number. So then we have 4 and negative 6. Well, 4 is in the positives, whereas 6 is in the negatives. So 4 is greater than negative 6. So when in doubt, I always think of it like money. What would I rather have, $4 or negative $6, meaning I owe somebody $6? Next is 2 and 10. Which one's bigger? Well, they're both positive numbers, so this one's pretty straightforward. 10 is greater than 2. It gets a little trickier when they're both negative numbers. Negative 9 and negative 1. So here's negative 1, here's negative 9. Remember, the farther to the right on the number line you are, the larger the number is. So in this case, negative 1 is greater than negative 9. Or I think of it as it's less negative. It's not as far into the negatives. I'd rather owe somebody $1 than owe them $9. Next one, 7 and negative 5. So we have positive 7 and negative 5. Well, the positive is always farther to the right than the negative, so 7 is always greater than negative 5. And then the last one, negative 5 and negative 4. Okay, sometimes when we get in the negatives, we want to treat them like positive numbers, and we always want to take the bigger number. But remember, in the negatives, it's actually the opposite. Negative 4 is actually farther to the right. It's closer to being back to 0 than negative 5. So negative 4 is actually greater than negative 5. All right, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Hopefully you got all that down in your notes. Keep those notes and we're going to add to them on Monday during class. I'll see you later.